What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Darkness on Duke. This week we talk about the game Saturday. We had a few days to digest it, so we'll talk about that with Ricky Price and what we think about the team heading into the ACC and then NCAA tournament. But as always, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any of our uploads. Check us out over on YouTube. That's where we post clips of my podcast and all the other podcasts across the Field of 68 network. Reach out to us on Twitter at the Field of 68 and at Dre_Dawkins. Let us know what you think. Let us know who you want to hear from next. And hope you enjoy this one. And we will see you on the next one. All right, this week we got my guy, Ricky Price, back for another episode. Talked to him after the Carolina game. He said he needed to get some thoughts off his chest. So we had to bring him back this week. What's going on, man?
All is well. All is well. You know, it was an epic weekend in Durham. Excuse my voice. It's still scratchy because I kind of lost it.
Yeah.
When I was screaming and yelling all weekend, visiting with former players and yelling at fans and yelling at our team and yelling at everybody else. So if I sound a little scratchy, just deal with it, and I do apologize.
Yeah, we'll be all right. So obviously we will get to the game, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So bear with us, listeners. So first of all, what were your thoughts on the team heading into that game? And you know, they had been on a little bit of a run there. You feel like they had found something, like they had kind of hit a bit of a stride there?
Well, I've always thought this team was good enough to win a national championship. You know, obviously this year the parity in the nation is wide. It's wide open. I mean, yeah. I would say maybe 5 or 6 teams could legitimately win a title this year, and I believe that the Duke basketball team is one of them. And I think we were heading in that direction, you know, winning the ACC regular season title, which hadn't been done in a long time. You know, heading to the ACC tournament where we're the favorite, and then, you know, fighting for a number 1 and number 2 seed. I think this team has a chance to win it all. And going into the Carolina game on Saturday, I expected, like I would say, most of the country, you know, to win that game, but I had my reservations.
Yeah. How much do you think, you know, that good running of winning and playing well can be attributed to, you know, the ACC having a down year, not really playing really good teams the last couple of weeks?
You know, there's some truth to that. You know, the ACC is considerably down this year. You know, we've always been, I say you and I both played in the ACC. We've always been, you know, at the tops of conferences nationwide, and, you know, sending players to the tournament, you know, having ranked teams, whatever you want to say. But this year has been considerably down. But it doesn't matter. You know, at the end of the day, you got to play your schedule. Yep. You got to play, you know, what's in front of you. I thought Carolina is a good team. Miami is a good team. Virginia is good. You know, all those teams are solid, good teams. You know, Syracuse on a given day, you know, can give you fits. Yeah. You know, it just depends on who you get. But, you know, to win an ACC regular season title, which in my opinion is really the ACC champion. You can strike gold in the tournament and win the tournament. But if you win and have the best record over, you know, 3 or 4 months in a conference, you are the champion of the ACC.
Yeah. Do you think, similar to like people say about Gonzaga a lot, the lack of competition in conference hurts them going into the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, you know, I think Gonzaga's done a pretty good job of having a really good non-conference schedule.
Yeah.
You know, they had us, and they played, I think, Virginia early. They got Kentucky. I mean, they got all these guys that they're playing to get their guys ready, because they know once they get in that WAC WCC conference that they're not going to be challenged. So, you know, and I think Coach K does a phenomenal job, you know, of non-conference scheduling with us as well, especially in November. You know, you start the season off in Kentucky, you get Gonzaga, you get all these top Michigan State, you get all these teams early, and that's just going to test your mettle. So later on, like now, when it matters most, you know, you're battle tested, and we'll see if that tactic is paid off.
Yeah. Who did you have as our regular season MVP?
That's a good question. I'm gonna be honest with you. The best player on the team is Paolo Banchero. There's no
Mm-hmm.
question about that. But I think Wendell is probably the team's MVP. He's the glue guy that has kept everything together. Honorable mention to that would probably be Mark Williams,
Yeah.
Who has
Yeah.
made incredible strides in his second year. I mean, he has played phenomenal. And even though, his burst of runs are short and limited, the shot blocking prowess, the protecting the rim running and dunking everything. I mean, he just adds a level of nastiness to our team. And then you bring Theo off the bench, who's more physical. He hits you, those two guys, but Wendell has really been the glue.
Yeah.
Running the point, he'll score for us. He'll do a little bit of everything. I think he had a triple-double this year. I mean, who was the last person to do that at Duke? You know what I'm saying? So
it's been a while. It's been a while. I agree with that. I feel like Wendell is kind of our Draymond, if you will. Like, he doesn't score a ton, but he gets some timely buckets, makes plays for other guys. He's obviously really good on defense and just kind of keeps it all together. Mark's been really, really good this year. I mean, he was really good last year, but he's taken it to another level, which has been impressive. And obviously Paolo is a good basketball player.
Really good.
Yeah. Good. Who do you feel like needs to find another gear in March and early April for Duke to get another banner up in the end zone?
I think it's Trevor Keels or Jeremy Roach. Those two guys, have been really hot and cold all year.
Yeah.
Trevor Keels had an awesome first game.
Yeah.
He came out of the gate unbelievable against Kentucky. I think he had another monster game against Clemson, but he hasn't really been consistently, playing like that all year. I know he was hurt, so he was out a little bit. But, we just hadn't got the consistency out of him. And he's a good player. I like him a lot, his toughness defensively. He can run the point. He can set guys up. He can score it. So I want to see him take it to another gear. And Jeremy Roach is another guy. A little bit of a disappointment for me. Obviously he wears the number 3. I wore the number 3. For those guys, I'm cheering even harder for those guys.
Yeah.
He just hadn't been consistent, and he's like a point guard that doesn't run the point. Like, when he's on the floor, you're not even bringing the ball up consistently. Like, I don't understand why that is. And then defensively, he always has these mental lapses that hurt us. His fouls are always the fouls that hurt us because he never fouls with intent of, fouling where they don't get the and one. Yeah. He'll foul and let them finish and then go to the free throw line and get an and one. So those two guys specifically, I want to see raise their level.
Yeah. So you and I are both back, along with 90 plus other former players. What was that like? I mean, for me, it was really cool being back in the that room we were in pregame and just kind of mingling, walking around, talking to different guys. What was that experience like for you? Having 40 plus years of guys, we were all the way back, Kenny Denard and Gene Banks, all the way up to, Grayson and, some guys who were, on the team last year were there. So what was that experience like for you?
It was incredible. There's a couple adjectives that I've been throwing around all weekend. And 2 words start with an E. I would say epic, electric. That was the atmosphere in Cameron Indoor Stadium this weekend. And just, to have everybody, you've been to fantasy camp. I think maybe that's the only time where everybody's around at one time. But even that was a small microcosm of what we saw this weekend. It was unbelievable how many guys were back. Just imagine if we didn't have so many guys in the NBA, it would have been even more guys that would have been back. You know what I'm saying? And so it was cool to see everybody. Chris Carroll did a private dinner for more than 90s crew after the game. And so now you got to have an intimate setting with some of the guys you played with in your 4-year career.
Mhm.
That was great, seeing you. And, I feel something because me personally, I've tried to do a great job of mentoring all the kids that come after me,
Yeah.
like you, like Daniel Ewing, like Sean Dockery, like the list goes on and on. Tyler Thornton, where I'm in guys' ears.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, show guys the Duke way. I'm trying to give them another, aspect of what they should be thinking about as they're playing. Post-career, trying to hook guys up with other guys that can maybe get them jobs or, fulfill some of the dreams they want to do aspiration-wise after hooping. And so, seeing those guys and dapping up, I thought was great. But it was an epic weekend, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the atmosphere in Cameron was as live as ever. I thought the fans were great. It was loud. Only, obviously my only problem is the seating arrangements for anyone who's been in Cameron behind the benches is a little rough on the back. I'm not, I'm 30 now, so my back wasn't enjoying that. But other than that, man, it was a lot of fun outside of the final score, obviously.
Facts. You never know about sitting in those seats, man. I mean, that for you 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", and up, in those seats is just it's murderous.
Yeah.
The fact that there's so much history and so much, tradition in that arena for guys to be scrunched up like sardines like that is ridiculous. But that's what Cameron is, man. That's the environment that it gives you. Far better to be a player than it is to be a spectator. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. For sure. One thing I don't think people really grasp are able to grasp, if you've never really put on the jersey and played in these situations, is like how much pressure was on that team. And, you and I talked about it pregame, but just how much pressure was on that team to win that game. I mean, it's more than like any game, really, more than like a Final Four game or anything like that. And we've all been in pressure situations. Part of the reason you come to Duke, but it being Coach's last game in Cameron against Carolina is another level. I don't think people really can understand it unless you've worn the jersey.
Yeah, that's a great point. All great points. I didn't think about it until afterwards about how bad those kids felt about losing the game. Right there when you're in the moment, it's like, it is what it is. But then when you look at the totality of what this game meant and the repercussions for years to come about this and the history about this particular game, to lose and lose in that fashion it's heartbreaking for those kids. And then obviously for Coach, it was difficult to watch him come out and have that, presentation, celebration, reception, if you will, right after the game. So he hasn't even had a chance to digest it. It's fresh on his mind. And, you could see it, as soon as he walked out, he was heated.
Yeah. It was funny. I was sitting with Grayson and Ryan and a couple other guys. And when he walked out, we all looked at each other and we're like, "Oh, he's so mad." We've all seen that face.
No question.
Yeah.
So, I felt for the kids. I went to the locker room afterwards and hugged a couple of the guys. Told them it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to live with this result, for a long, long time. And as you saw, Carolina celebrated like they won a national championship. They're running around the court. Franklin Street was buzzing, popping like they had won a national championship. And that's the difference between Duke and Carolina. You know what I'm saying? It's like act like you've been there before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not celebrating like that after beating you because we expect to beat you. But it's a rivalry and it is what it is. Spoils go to the victor.
Yeah, absolutely. One way to stop all that celebrating is win the game.
There you go.
But yeah, it's like, I mean, it's kind of a perfect storm, right? You got the pressure of trying to win the game. It's Coach's last game, a lot of emotion going into that. Your schedule is a little bit off. Even Coach coming out on the court, he usually doesn't come out till later, but, we did the thing where we, let him onto the court and all that. So, warm-ups are a little bit off. And then, for Carolina, it's like it's a win, it's win-win. Like there's no pressure on us. We're, unranked, not having the best year. If we lose, we're supposed to lose. If we win, we got Coach K in his last game in Cameron. So, you could tell, they're playing free. Whereas, we were playing, a little bit tight. They were playing like they had nothing to lose, and we were playing like, we had to hold on to this win. Especially out of the gate, you could tell we were a little bit tight. I think you're down like 11-2 or 11-3 to start. And then second half, they just kind of poured it on in the last 10 minutes or so. So I guess we'll get to the game itself now, and do a little analysis. So, yeah, like I said, we started off bad, down 11-3. But then I feel like they kind of settled into the game a little bit. Tied it, was up for a big chunk of the second half after that. And I kind of thought, okay, like we're good now. I think we got up 6 or so. AJ hit a couple shots and Paolo was playing really well. How did you feel about that first half?
Well, I mean, I talked about this. There was a play, the first play of the game, and I knew we were in trouble.
Yeah.
The jump ball tip, and then we get it, and then Wendell has a chance to grab the ball and pass it to somebody, and then go back and get it, and we have the basketball.
Yep.
Instead, he tries to grab it and he loses it out of bounds, which is an absolute brain fart. When there's no Carolina player around, our guy is there, pass it in, get it back, we good. Let's run offense. When he lost that on that mental breakdown, immediately I was like, this is exactly what I didn't need to happen. I could see that mentally we weren't there. Yeah. And then we got off to the bad start, and but we fought our way back in. But I think the moment was just too big for our kids.
Yeah.
The moment of Coach K, the hoopla, the pregame, it just was, everything was against their normal routine.
Yeah.
And the moment was too big. And even though you go to Duke for these extreme moments, I don't think anybody expected that moment to be like that, and the emotion and everything that goes along with it. Look, I'm not trying to make excuses. This is just what it is.
No, it's facts. It's facts.
I think that played a huge part in how we played in the first half, and then ultimately being tired and not being able to sustain.
Yeah.
I don't think we did a good job coaching staff-wise of managing playing time.
Yeah.
He went with a shorter rotation, didn't play Joey Baker, didn't play the new kid that we have. Bates.
Yeah.
And those guys have been critical, to spell guys minutes. And Joey Baker, especially his senior night for him, he's capable of hitting 2 or 3 threes to change the momentum of the game. Why not throw him in there? Instead, you have Paolo play all these minutes, and now in the second half, he can't deliver for you because you don't have nothing left.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a big thing. I mean, we went 7 deep, and it's really more like 6 deep because Theo and Mark are just kind of, they're going in and out for each other.
Right.
And so Jeremy is kind of spelling all the perimeter guys, and they were kind of rotating. And then Paolo, I'm pretty sure, played all 40, which is tough. And, especially in that environment, how Duke Carolina is a little hotter in there. You use energy faster in Duke Carolina. I remember my first game. By that time you're in good shape. It's March, you're in good shape, and man, I was out there for about a minute and gassed. It's just flying. There's so much emotion. Cameron's going crazy. So yeah, it is. That was interesting. I wasn't expecting us to go so short with the bench. And Bates had been, spelling Paolo recently. And typically coach is good with that. At 9 minutes, take him out, you get the under 8 plus the minute of rest. And then, you go back in after the under 8 timeout, and, you get a little bit extra rest. and things like that. So yeah, I don't have 1,200 wins, so I don't know. But
right. Yeah, but you and I both know. I mean, if you ask any basketball player, they will never come out the game if they ask you.
No.
They'll try to play the whole thing. As a coach, you have to save them from themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And a good time frame is 30 to 32 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think you can be really productive during that time frame. That leaves 8 minutes now for you to spell guys here and there. I believe if Paolo comes out and gets that 8-minute rest, 4 in the first half, 4 in the second half, maybe he's fresh and he's not short-arming those missed layups that he had in the second half.
Yeah.
AJ Griffin only getting 5 shot attempts. You got to find a way to get him, the basketball. He had been killing the past, 60 days. I mean, he has been on an unbelievable tear. And he destroyed Carolina just a couple weeks ago at their place. Wendell was god awful offensively. He wasn't there. So you just got to find different ways to get those guys. And then the adjustments, the pick and roll absolutely killed us.
Yep.
And there weren't really any adjustments made in that regard. I don't know if we were not, hedging, or the switch wasn't working, and then, you had Carolina, who just had a monumental effort, like 4 guys with 20 points.
Yeah.
Never seen RJ Davis and Manic play like that. Those guys played way above they'll never play like that probably ever again in the Carolina uniforms. You got 3 or 4 guys playing like that, 94 points scored. I mean, so it was the perfect storm. All the hoopla, and it's just unfortunate that the game had to end in that fashion.
Yeah. So you mentioned the pick and roll. Obviously, have to talk about that. The Spain action for the layman, Spain is just 1-5 pick and roll, and then you have a shooter set a back screen for the 5 and pop. So they had Manic. It's basically a 1-5-4. Baycott sets the screen. Manic sets a back screen and pops. And it was really clearly confusing our guys because Manic got a couple wide open shots off the back screen. Yes, both guys went to Baycott, and then once we figured that out, and then we couldn't get the pick and roll figured out. I think we started switching, and they were taking advantage of the switch. But honestly, I mean, credit to Coach Davis because he stayed with that pretty much the last 10 minutes of the game. It was just pick and roll, and you're gonna have to stop it, and we just didn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously in the NBA they do the same thing.
Yeah.
They're gonna run something 15 times if they have to until you stop it.
Yep.
And we could not, defend the pick and roll. And we have a scouting report. You know this. We know who's who and what's what. You can't sit up here and tell me that Manic wasn't like on the awareness list.
Oh yeah.
Of guys that you cannot leave open, and repeatedly they left him open. Yeah. And he was so hot. I mean, I don't know if you saw this, but on his misses, he wasn't missing nothing.
No, his misses looked really good.
I mean, his makes, they were all net. I mean, he just looked unbelievable out there and comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's the key word. I mean, their guys were just too comfortable. Baycott down low. Caleb Love in the second half got real comfortable. Manic was comfortable the whole game. I mean, he's drinking lemonade. He's got his feet up in the lounge chair. He's just, man, I'm loving this. Yeah. And as a result, we got what we got. And unless we can make those adjustments, the game, was never going to go in our favor.
Yeah.
And we could see them again in a couple of days. They're going to run the same stuff. We're going to have to figure that out.
Yeah. Before we continue our conversation, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with BetRivers yet, now's the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season in full swing, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. What do you think needs to change on that to help them get stops against that action?
Well, there's a couple things. Mark Williams is the key. If he can't be in the game when they start running that action, then we got to go to the smaller lineup, which we can go to and put Paolo at the 5 and AJ Griffin at the 4, and then have the 3 of those guards, out there. And we can easily defend and operate like that. I hate to take Mark Williams out of the equation, but if he's not defending the pick and roll well, then you have to make that adjustment early. Maybe you read it, and get it out the hands and try to, force turnovers that way. But we weren't getting over the screens good. We weren't rotating well. So it's like everything we tried to do wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so normally it's 1 or 2 things we don't do well, but everything they tried to do wasn't working. So they're gonna have to figure that out personnel wise, and then get on their locations. And then you can never overhelp on Manic. You cannot leave that dude to help on Baycott.
Yeah.
He may score a dunk, but Manic is letting those threes go, and that's kind of what changed the game for them in the second half.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing I thought was big was the end of the first half. I think we were up 6 or 8, and somehow they hit 2 threes going in the half. And instead of being up 8, 10, 12, we're only up 2 going in the second half. And I think that kind of changed the complexion of the game because, we go up 10 or 12 into the second half. After they started, hot, started up 11-3, and then we take a double-digit lead in the second half. I think that kind of messes with their psyche a little bit, and they have a chance to kind of be broken in the first few minutes of the second half, as opposed to hitting 2 threes, feeling really good about themselves, and keeping that confidence going into the start of the second half.
You're absolutely right. They did to us what we normally do to teams.
Yeah.
We like to do those what we call silent runs.
Silent runs. Yep.
Where we'll have a run at the end of the first half, maybe an 8-0 or 9-0 run, going to halftime with somewhat of a lead and momentum, and then come back and give you that same silent run to start the game in the second half. And now the game is over.
Yeah.
Now you're down close to 20 points. Those 2 silent runs have absolutely decimated you, and you're done.
Yeah.
And they kind of did us like that. I don't know if you remember, there was a call that kind of changed everything.
Yeah.
Baycott gets the ball, and it was clearly a charge.
Yeah.
And they called it a block.
Yeah.
I mean, a blind guy could have saw how bad this call was.
Yeah.
It didn't go our way. Out of bounds play, they hit a 3.
Yep.
And that right there broke our back and our spirit. And so that was right before the first half ended. So they hit 2 threes, including that bad call 3 after the out of bounds play, and that kind of just took the wind out of ourselves.
Yeah. It was funny because we were all a lot of guys were saying second bump, we gotta wait for the second bump, which typically is the rule, but unless he just completely lowers his shoulder, which is what happened, that's a charge. And then the other thing is, if you're not calling it a charge, then it's nothing. You know what I mean? Like it's either a charge or nothing. I don't see how that can be a block.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. He's just standing there.
And they try to come with a makeup call in a similar play, but again,
they did the same thing in the second half too.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's the
damage is done at that point.
The timing of when that happened.
Yeah.
And when they're trying to make their run, and then right after that hitting the 3, all those things, man, that breaks your spirit, man. That breaks your spirit, and that was a huge play in the game that kind of changed everything, man. And we never recovered from that.
Yeah. So we both obviously played for Coach, and we know what he's like after losses where he especially losses he feels are unacceptable, to use his terminology there. What do you think about how their practices have been this week going into the ACC tournament?
I'm sure there was a change,
between
me and you, talking to some of the staff, and, I heard that they didn't practice as hard going into the Carolina game. They got back from Pitt, I believe, on Tuesday
night.
Didn't had off on Wednesday and did not practice on Thursday.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are we doing? I
Yeah.
mean, you got to stay on these guys. Guys are sore. Look, after the Carolina game, there's even more of a break where you can rest guys after that going into the
Yeah.
ACC
Yeah.
tournament. But you got to stay on these guys and keep them sharp, keep them fresh.
Especially a
Going into that.
younger team like we have.
Yeah,
If you have an
it's
older team, I think
right?
it's a little bit different.
Absolutely. And so, that's a mistake right there. And so now their sharpness, their aggressiveness, they're just not as good. And you can see that we were off the whole game. And trust me, that has something to do with it.
Yeah.
But I think Coach, he knows good and well that mistake was made, and he shored that up.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about Coach K, just like Nick Saban, if you give that dude time to figure it out, he is going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Especially when things aren't going well. The ship can easily sink and go down any further down. That really doesn't happen at Duke because he does a great job of figuring out the problem and quickly fixing it.
Yeah.
So you best believe that's going to be a totally different team heading into the ACC tournament. Different moxie, different aggressiveness, different sharpness, any adjective you want to use. It ain't going to be like it was last week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. He does make adjustments pretty quickly. So I don't think we lost consecutive games while I was there until my last year. So we would lose, but the next team was in trouble.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's a special rare talent that coaches have, man. Saban is the same way, man, where they can diagnose what the problem is, man, and fix it.
Yeah.
And fix it quick. And that's why you don't get those back-to-back losses in those 3, 4, 5 game losing streaks.
Yeah. So I thought we had a shot at grabbing the one. If we had one out, maybe grabbing one of the one seeds, especially with all the carnage that's been happening over the last couple of weeks at the top of the polls. Probably not going to happen. What are your thoughts on seeding? I guess we're probably pretty locked into a 2 unless we bow out early, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we can win the ACC tournament, so that means we won the regular season championship and the ACC tournament championship. I mean, it'll be hard to deny us a 1 seed at that point. Gonzaga for sure will probably be the number 1 overall seed, be out west. Kansas, probably in the Midwest. They have the easiest road anyway. They're always number 1 in the Midwest. There's really no, and then you got us, Duke, Auburn, Kentucky, and who else is out there?
Purdue.
Oh, Purdue. I forgot about Purdue.
I don't think Illinois really has a shot at it. But, I mean, I think Purdue, Wisconsin just lost, so they're probably out of that. I think, Arizona.
Oh, yeah, Arizona. So Arizona has to be a 1 seed too. They could stick it to Arizona and give them the number 2 seed in the West, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah,
you're right. I think we're probably going to be locked into a 2, maybe 1 if we win the ACC tournament, which I'm cool with. A 1 or 2 seed for me is high enough and will give us the road that we need to finish the deal.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with 2 in the South. I think if I'll take 2 in the South, let Baylor win the Big 12 championship, give them the 1 in the South. I'll take the 2 in Baylor's region in the South.
Yeah, what you're doing is you're looking at the matchups, and you have to do that as well. Who are we trying to stay away from? Who are we trying to, I think Auburn is a team that I'm eyeing, at, a Final Four.
Yeah.
We have to, see them. I don't want to see them before that.
Yeah.
Gonzaga, I'd rather not see them before that.
No. Yeah.
Purdue, I'd rather not see them before that. But everybody else, I'm kind of like Kansas. I'm not really worried about Kansas. Baylor, I'm not worried about Kentucky. We already smashed them. You know what I'm saying? So, those are kind of the 3 teams I like to stay away from until it's time to actually have to play those guys.
Yeah. So kind of jumping past the ACC tournament, obviously we like to win that, but what do you think are some of the keys to win those 6 games in the tournament for this team?
I mean, it's a lot of things, but it's consistency.
Yeah.
You know, we've lost games in the past on a couple of different things. Defensively, when we weren't there, we had those brain farts. We're now locked in the whole time. You know, we've lost games. We've lost games that you've seen from the free throw line.
Yeah.
We get to the free throw line and we shoot poorly, and we lose games. And then, you know, those in-game situations. You know, we've lost a couple close ones. Virginia and Miami come to mind. Florida State comes to mind there. You know, when we didn't finish the deal and close out, you know, in a tight situation. Talent-wise, I believe we have, if not the best team, one of the best teams in the nation. Coaching, we have that. We got everything you need to win the title. We just got to shore up those small things. You know, the focus points of free throw shooting, not losing our assignments on defense, and then obviously the rebounding. You know, we lost some games bad, giving up offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
Florida State comes to mind. If we can stay away from, you know, making those fatal mistakes, you know, I think we'll be in a good spot.
Yeah.
I think we'll be in a good spot.
Yeah. My only worry, I guess, would be, you know, having been through it, having gone through a tournament, won all 6 games.
I mean, you got to rub it in like that.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I just, you know, a little some light. Shout out to John, Nolan, Kyle, Lance, and Zoobs for putting me on their back and carrying me to a ring. But having gone through that experience, I think one thing that worries me is I feel like, you know, not only personally going through it, but watching other teams that win it all, I feel there's always a game or two that you aren't going to have it, right? You're not going to have your A stuff. Mm-hmm. I think ours was the Baylor game in the Elite Eight. Just not quite playing at our peak and figuring that out. Still figuring it out and winning that game. And so, you know, my thing with this team is just, you know, how are you going to react? How are you going to step up, and how are you going to figure out how to win when you don't have, you know, your A stuff? And I think that's a big key to winning a national championship.
Well, just so you know, I mean, you know, your team, that team that won the national championship that year, I was super surprised that particular team.
Most of the nation was.
You know, of all the Duke teams that we've had, and that's the team that won. But that's a testament to, you know, coach and his ability to get you guys to play, you know, on together and on a high level. And that's a testament of how blue collar you guys were. That was a workman's type team. That was, you know, bring your lunch pail, your hard hat. We about to go to work. Talent wise, you guys didn't have it. Plus, you were a junior led team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you were older. And so you had the ability to do that. But of all the teams that have won a national championship at Duke, that team was the one that you're like, that team won? But, you know, it's a championship nonetheless. And so the recipe was great for you guys. And I hope, you know, this team can follow that recipe. We got more prima donnas than you guys had on that team, this year's team. But the recipe.
The thing about that team too is it's, you know, not something that can be like, you know, put in a statute or anything, but that team had been through like the mud, you know what I mean? Like they had lost in the first round to VCU, you know, that senior class, John Lance and Zoobs, you know, got beat in the second round, got beat in the Sweet 16. So they had those experiences of losing and, you know, being embarrassed. And, you know, I think that was really important to them. And they had that real sense of urgency to go out there and to prove something. And, you know, like you said, it was a team with, you know, we just played the best defense in the country, played really hard on defense. And, and we had the 3 guys on the perimeter where you couldn't really key in on one guy. You know, with John, Nolan, and Kyle, like they all had the ability to score, had the ability to shoot, ability to get to the basket, ability to play make. So it was difficult. for teams to kind of key in on one guy, like they've been able to do the last couple of years, I think.
Absolutely. That was a great team. I forgot how good defensively you guys were.
Yeah.
And, with Lance, and then you got Zoops anchoring down low. You got guys like Nolan and John and Kyle, pressuring and denying wings. I mean, that was a good team, but it wasn't like the talent that we've seen before in the past. It was senior led. It was grind and grit defense, and I just hope some of that rubs off on this year's team. If they play as hard and as good on defense as you guys did,
yeah,
there's no question this team can win a national championship.
Absolutely. So did you? We had 90 plus guys there this weekend. Did you meet anybody that you hadn't met before?
Yeah, there were a couple guys. Name wise, I'm horrible, but
yeah.
I think everybody kind of gravitates to the 4-year guys that they were with. So for me, it's Trajan, it's Rashawn McLeod, it's Steve Wojciechowski, it's Carrawell, it's Nate James. Those are the guys. Callback, Jay Heaps. I mean, those are the guys, Stan Brunson, that you're going to be around the most.
Yeah.
And then it's the younger and older guys that just before you or just after you, it's going to be the next tier of guys. But the fact that we were all in the building at the same time, the back family room before the game was everything. Seeing what guys are doing, talking the shit, shooting the breeze, It was great, man. It was an epic, electric situation, epic moment. Cameron was at its greatest, and that was a special event, man. And I'll never forget. I'll never forget how that went down.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things is like, having like the friendship and the brotherhood, camaraderie with guys that you never played with, right? So every time I see you. Big hug, like what's going on? How's everything going? Blah, blah, blah. Same thing with, Kenny, Denard, Gene Banks, never stepped foot on the floor with those guys. Gerald Henderson, that's my guy, never played with him. So I think that's like one of the coolest things about it is like how you build these friendships and these bonds with guys, that you didn't play with, that came before you or came after you. Is really, really cool. And it really is, I've said this a bunch of times on this podcast, but it really is brotherhood, man. It's not just something we say. It's actually something that, we live as a group.
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it any better than that. It means a lot. It means a lot. And kind of the thing that binds us all together was Coach.
Yeah.
Other than Jim Boeheim, I don't think there's anybody else who's been there that long who has coached everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach coached everybody.
Yeah.
And so, the regime, the situation, the principles, I mean, everything is the same. And we all can share that. And that's what kind of makes it, special. We talk about it all the time, but you can't really see it until you see it.
Yeah.
And we saw that. We saw that this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Appreciate the time, Ricky. Hopefully ACC tournament is a little better than this past Saturday did. But hopefully, maybe we can do another reunion in New Orleans for Final Four. And,
I would like that. There's nothing more than I would like better than that. You and I can share a grenade, and then we can go watch our boys play.
Yeah. I would love it. But appreciate the time, man. And talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
Yeah.